Today we're going to take a look at Gen Z's perception in the workplace. Is it wrong? Is it right?
What are some of the stereotypes you've heard about Gen Zs in the workplace?
Our attention span is very short.
Gen Z people are lazy and we seek answers immediately.
We're a little bit too carefree.
With their social media habits, slang, and lifestyles, Gen Z seems to have a bad reputation, especially in the workplace. But are the complaints true?
They tend to be entitled, they tend to not be loyal.
I don't think any of us want to work 100 hours a week, to have no piece of the pie, to work for someone you don't respect, to do something that you don't believe in. And I think for a long time, that's how we were told the world had to work. And I think a lot of folks are saying, no, maybe the world's gonna work radically differently. And I think that's a good thing.
It can feel like they are challenging you or they're challenging your views, and it is up to us to really try to define it better for them.
Does it get frustrating for you as a manager?
Sometimes it does get a little bit frustrating because it does slow down a bit of efficiency.
Loosely defined as those born between the mid to late 1990s and early 2010s, they're starting to enter the workforce in greater numbers. And a survey reported that 3 in 4 managers find that Gen Z is the most challenging generation to work with.
Wow, that's crazy. 75% of managers think that the kids today are the most challenging generation to work with. I mean, I'm sure that's been true of all the old generations saying that about the kids, but that's a lot.
This generation got caught in a big change in the workplace. And on the flip side, companies were not prepared to know how to handle this.
I think the managers possibly who are saying things like this, they've forgotten that they themselves probably cared about similar things when they were younger.
Ziad Ahmed is the 24-year-old founder of Juve Consulting, a digital marketing agency run fully by Gen Zs.
I'm the first to admit that as a Gen Zer who got up on stage as 16 years old and said, we're not going to wait our turn, we're going to make all the change that we want to make right now. Being a CEO, what Gen Z employees were asking me to make that change, right? So I see it from both sides, if you will.
Youth between the ages of 15 to 24 make up 34% of the global labor force. What will the transition into the workplace mean for the future of work, and how can employers adapt?
There are an estimated 1.8 billion adolescents and youth between the ages of 10 and 24, making it the largest generation of young people in history. While there are no clear definitions or authority on the different generation cohorts, Gen Z, also known as Zoomers, is the demographic group sandwiched between millennials and the latest demographic cohort, Gen Alpha. Gen Z's entry into the workplace has been characterized by multiple challenges, from the COVID-19 pandemic to record inflation and a cost of living crisis. In turn, it's led to changes in how and where we work, with the traditional office making way for more remote working.
A deal breaker for me is a place which requires me to go into the office every day. I don't think I could do that. It's just way too tiring.
Folks need to know why they're at the office every day. Like, why are they working so hard? What is it for? Right? How do they benefit if you get that goal? Making those things clear instead of just being like, oh, you signed up for this job, just work your ass off, have no transparency to what our larger goals are, and have no purpose that binds us together. No, give me a why. Give me a how. Give me a win.
I actually kind of agree with him as far as a lot of companies, they just expect that, oh, the kids are going to work for the same reasons that old generations came to work and worked in the past. They're going to work for the company's sustainability so that the company can profit, so that the company can keep going and they can keep their job. Well, that works if people are making more than just the bare minimum. If people are making good money at a company, they may be invested in the company because they feel like they're getting something from that. Where most Gen Z are making, around $40,000 a year and they're paycheck to paycheck. They can't afford a house. They can barely afford rent. They can't afford, any sort of lifestyle that they really want. He's right.
Really, this group of Gen Zs, they're the COVID remote work. So they didn't even have an opportunity to relate to people at all in a workplace. We're thrown into an environment that people who do have that experience are still struggling with. Yes, they have technical skills because they grew up holding computers in their hands, right? But those skills did not apply to the workplace.
Is there a particular demographic of managers who are just impatient?
Are there
Yes.
some? Yes. Clearly, those managers need help too.
However, tensions between different generations are nothing new, says Fermin Diaz, a human resources expert with more than 35 years of experience.
When the millennials first joined the workforce, the exact same amount of hype about millennials as there is now about the Gen Zs. Gen Zs, there are several things that are interesting about them. One is they don't plan to stay in one place for any length of time. That is already a challenge to HR professionals.
It's not that kids are inherently nomadic or that they lack loyalty in this generation. I'm talking Gen Z. But it's a fact that corporations, I'm talking to you guys do not reward loyalty. I've talked about this stat in the past. Switching jobs every 2 years gets you paid substantially more over a lifetime than staying with a company in 7-year plus blocks. In other words, loyalty gets you paid less in the modern workplace than switching jobs does. So I love when older people talk about this whole like, oh, these kids aren't loyal, they just job hop, and as soon as they get good at the job, they move. Pay up. If you want the talent, pay to keep it.
The new generation, of course, has access to information faster than anybody else has ever had in the past, especially after COVID. The idea of working from home has become more instituted in how they think. But the reality is that they really like learning. They like to have new experiences. They're really not settled in any one profession, in any one industry. So that's what makes them very hard, that they're motivated in different ways.
How ready is the workplace for different ideas?
Many companies are not there at all. We're going to have more gig and more hybrid and more part-timers. It's already here.
Okay, let's think about this logically. Gen Z is driving all of this change, all of this conversation about hybrid work, work remote, work from home, all of that, okay? What advantages might come from this, right? If you're Gen Z, right, let's say you got an apartment, whatever, you've got multiple jobs, because a lot of Gen Z do. Working remote, working from home allows you to do things like start the laundry or start the dishwasher while you're at work. You know, maybe you need to get up and think about something that you're working on for 5 minutes, so you just walk around the house, throw some clothes in the washer. It allows you to get more chores done and have a little bit more flexibility in terms of time. That's one benefit. The other benefit, if you're not spending all of that time commuting to the office every day, that frees up a lot of your day to work those second jobs, to do other things, to have fun, to have hobbies on the side. If I'm not spending, 20 minutes to an hour and a half each day driving to the office because I'm working remote, let's say. On top of that, you're saving gas money and potentially money eating out, with coworkers at the office, or if you don't have the ability to pack a lunch, oh crap, I forgot to pack one today, and then you have to go out and eat lunch, you can eat at home while you're working, which saves money, saves time. So you look at it, and there's a lot of benefits that come with working from home or working remote. And I feel like a lot of the older generations look at the kids and say, why are you so fixated on this? Well, we don't have a lot of money, a lot of resources. So anytime we can save a little bit of money, that's a good thing. Gen Z is very poor as a generation. And then secondarily, we're coming up in the era of screens, screen maxing. You're constantly being flooded with dopamine and everything's competing for your time. Anything you can do to feel like you have a little bit of extra time in your day, especially if you've got to work multiple jobs to afford rent where you live or a mortgage, that's welcomed. So Gen Z is looking at this and saying, if you're not going to pay me enough to really live or to have any extra money, at least help me to have a little bit of freedom and flexibility in my lifestyle. And because I know someone's going to be in the comments saying, the kids are not poorer today, look at this stat. Gen Z has 86% less purchasing power than baby boomers did in their 20s. And then the little subtitle here, millennials and Gen Z aren't broke because of avocado toast, they're broke because prices have shot up and wages haven't kept pace. And this is part of a broader problem where wages haven't meaningfully increased since the 1970s. Our purchasing power has really gone down as the sort of working class or middle class in America since about 1971. So you look at that and you say, look, the kids are in a different situation. Maybe their relationship with work is going to be different, where they're poorer, where they have a different situation than the old generations did.
I think the mistake is to try to say, I'm going to retain you with money. I think the idea is going to be, I'm going to retain you with training, with development opportunities, with experiences.
Gone are the days are...
What? Did this old guy just say, I think the mistake with Gen Z is to try and retain them with money. We need to retain them with experiences. Bro, I can tell you as someone who's Gen Z, I don't care about your experiences. Look, I can learn skills on my own. I know how to Google. I know how to ChatGPT. I know how to search up courses, go get certificates online, go back to college if I want to. Respectfully, professional development is cool. I agree, it's a benefit, but that's not the meat that the kids are looking for. I'll tell you what the kids are looking for. The kids are looking for the ability to hopefully one day start a family and buy a house. That's all we're looking for. It's not rocket science. Your generation was getting mortgages when you were 20, 30, okay? And that was viewed as your starting life late. We can't start buying mortgages until hopefully we're 40. Gen Z is not in a position as a whole to purchase homes and start families. And then you look at the birth rate in the US and you go, why is the US in decline? America's birth rate is 1.66. Do you know what we need just in order to maintain our country? Not even to grow, but just to keep it at the same level. 2.2. We're at 1.66. America is literally in decline. And you have people going, well, maybe I just need to hoard more money at the top and give these kids advancement opportunities through education. We don't want to pay them anymore, but maybe if we educate them more, that'll help the kids to stay. No! We can't even start families because we can't afford that shit. Gee, these kids are sure greedy, wanting to start families and have houses like we did when we were younger than them. Maybe we should deprive them of more money. Maybe the answer is not giving them the ability to live a life. It's such a stupid take.
According to a recent survey, almost half of Gen Z workers suffer from stress or anxiety arising from factors such as increasing costs of living, workload, and climate change.
In fact, almost 70% of Gen Zs are actively planning to minimize their carbon footprint.
And they want to define a better future for themselves and address key issues, whether that's environmental, employment, racial, gender. They're looking at their future and they want to be drivers of meaningful change.
This might be a hot take. I think worrying about climate change for Gen Z is the last thing we need to worry about. And I know a lot of people in my generation do look at climate change as a major issue because we've been taught in school, the planet is headed in this unsustainable direction. I totally get that. I'm not disputing that. But let me offer you this. If the entire industrialized world is in population decline, the entire first world or all these first world countries, the West, has declining populations. We can look at several European nations, it's the same case. Then what's a bigger risk factor is our population severely dying off, which we're doing to ourselves right now, in the name of this unsustainable corporate oligarchy that we have right now in America. Or we can focus on the climate. But I'm going to say this, the climate is not going to get meaningfully worse if the world's population continues to decline. I think the issue that's actually worth worrying about is, hey, how do we get people to not hate having kids, to not abort babies? How do we get people to have more kids and be able to take care of them?
44% of Gen Zs would, want to work for roles that are actually positively contributing to the world versus millennials, which is a much, much lower number at 37%.
In April 2023,
Gen Z cares about working for companies that are in line with their values. Yes, this is a Gen Z phenomenon, and let me explain why. Baby boomers, silent generation, these older generations, even millennials to a degree, when you worked for a company manufacturing aircraft components, you didn't think much about that and you didn't know much about the company. All that you were kind of told is you're a patriot. You're helping to create, aircrafts, or you're helping to create defense items. Now, with the internet, which Gen Z grew up with and we're familiarized with and we use quite frequently, if you're in a company, you can see the long list of things that company is up to behind the scenes. And so suddenly it's not, oh, I work in a defense company, so I'm a patriot. It's, oh, I work in a defense company who just got a contract to help kill a bunch of Iraqi children because America decided that we want some oil. Or, I work in a defense company that decided that it's going to help the current regime in the White House to continue this war in Ukraine and Russia as long as possible and deny ceasefire so that they can sell weapons overseas. The kids have more context for what they're actually supporting and working for. And how can you feel good if you have knowledge? How can you feel good about contributing to companies that are hurting people? In the past, it was just that most people were ignorant to this because information wasn't shared as readily as it is today. So I look at that and say, the kids are actually trying to make the best of what they see in front of them.
LinkedIn added a feature to allow job seekers to filter companies based on their values.
So think of diversity, sustainability, focus on mental health, career, work-life balance, and so on.
What can workplaces sort of learn from all these values and all these attitudes that Gen Zs bring into the workplace?
Investment in learning is extremely important. Apart from that, creating cultural moments, right, where you actually bring Gen Zs together as well.
A new employee has no standard of comparison, regardless of generation.
So almost all of the employers in this video revealed that working with Gen Z employees can be a good challenge. However, employers are using new tactics to engage them and shape the culture for a multi-generational workforce.
I think Gen Z is asking for a construction of the workforce that allows for more people to understand why and allows more people to be able to say no.
When I talk to all these new people joining the workforce, what I tell them is pick a boss. Not a company, not a title, not even a paycheck. because that is what's going to make the biggest difference in how you find the work experience.
Actually,
so bosses, what I tell is understand that these people are impatient, understand that their desire is to grow and to learn. Coach, ask them questions. They'll find out the answer. They can Google it. But challenge them and help them to grow.
My biggest problem with videos like this is that the older generation looks at Gen Z and goes, you're focused on the wrong things. Or I saw another video where it was, Gen Z is too worried about getting promoted too fast, and we don't like that. It's a very strange mentality to me because it's so detached from what's actually happening in the world. It's, hey, you kids are trying to play things differently than we did in the past, and I don't like that. Well, that would be fine and dandy if the world was the same that it was in the past for your generation. But unfortunately, you gave us crippling inflation. You gave us wages that have been stagnant since the 1970s. You gave us a dollar that's no longer pegged to gold, meaning that our dollar has less and less purchasing power. So when you see Gen Z in this housing crisis as well, going, I need more money, I need to work multiple jobs, I can't be all the way invested in your company, it's a survival instinct. It's Gen Z saying, I'm in a different situation, I gotta figure out what I gotta do to make it by, to scrape by. The money that I'm getting paid here is not enough for me to actually start the life that I wanna start with a family, with a proper roof over my head that maybe I own, even if it's over a 30-year or 40-year mortgage. The kids are not having the opportunities that people in the past had. And instead of looking at that and going, Gen Z is doing the best with what they have, it's a different generation to work with because they have different circumstances that they're up against. A lot of the old generation just looks at it and goes, oh my gosh, you guys are so challenging to work with. You guys gave us a crap sandwich to start our lives with, a really difficult labor market to grow up in, and now you guys are looking at Gen Z saying, you guys are a lot. It's like, well, you got us here. So don't turn around and blame me for having to react to the situation that you created for this generation. Gen Z was born 97 and after. They didn't create the world as it is today. And so what I would really like to see personally is a little bit more compassion from the older generations, whether that be millennials, baby boomers, or older, to say, you know what? This is a different world today. Maybe we have to help the kids instead of just constantly crapping on them like has been the playbook. We saw it with baby boomers and millennials. Millennials got crapped on. Now Gen Z's getting crapped on. Maybe we can actually offer them a hand instead of creating a more difficult world for them and then calling them lazy and this and that because they're trying to figure it out as they go. Gen Z needs your help, man. And a lot of you old guys, a lot of you old people are just so determined to make us the enemy. But you know what? I love you guys. And hopefully this will change some minds. So my name is Mitchell. Make sure to hit subscribe, click the video, and I'm out.